Hello everyone, my name's Claire Varley and welcome back to the home of EDFL Web TV, the Pascoe Vale Hotel. We'll be coming to you weekly on the EDFL YouTube channel. This season we'll be visiting clubs, so if your club has a significant event coming up, contact us via our social media networks. This week EDFL Web TV has been visiting another of our clubs, so let's throw to Pellizzeri and see what's going on.
Thanks, Claire. Yes, we're at Lionheart Reserve this week, the home of Taylors Lakes in Essendon Ford Division 1. They've defied some of the pre-season expectations that they were going to come back to the pack a little bit this season, 2-1 and looking good at the start of Sam Tankard's reign as the new coach. We're going to catch up with some of the key figures here at Taylors Lakes, and then Addam, Saricaoglu and Dave Kennedy will join me on this week's discussion panel for all the big talking points across the three divisions of EDFL. Stay with us right here on the EDFL YouTube channel.
Hi, I'm Claire Varley and we're here with Matt Morelli from Taylors Lakes Football Club. Thank you for joining us today.
No worries.
How have you found the change of coaches from Steve Burns to Sam Tankard?
Yeah, really good. I mean, it's been obviously different. Steve has been with the club for the last 5-6 years, so the core group of guys have sort of grown up. A lot of them he probably started with when they come into the seniors. So yeah, it definitely has been different, but no, it's been good. It's been a good change, and I think Steve sort of realised that coming to the end of his career here that the club needed a change. So yeah, going in a good direction.
How much responsibility fell on the senior players to make the transition smooth for the new coach?
Not a hell of a lot. I mean, the good thing about Sammy is he's a real easygoing guy. It's been a fairly easy transition. I mean, he picked the leadership group fairly late into the pre-season, which I think he did on purpose, just to sort of get the whole group together, everyone to make sure they're a leader. And I mean, when he came in, he's sort of been good from the top bloke to the last bloke. So there hasn't really been a need for us to do anything out of the ordinary. Sam's pretty much taken that all on his own.
What are the internal expectations in the playing group for this season?
I think a lot different to what the competition thinks. We reckon we should definitely be playing finals and pushing for a premiership. This year and probably the last couple, more so this year, I think the actual Division 1 is a lot more even across the board. You haven't really got the dominant teams. We probably thought, your Craigie Burns and Duda Stars might have been with the recruits, but just going by the last couple of results, it obviously seems a lot closer than it could be. So, yeah, we definitely reckon we should be pushing for a grand final spot, if not a premiership.
Tell us what you and the other senior players are doing to bring through this new generation of recruits.
Well, I mean, there's an awesome, group of young kids coming through, and I think that's one thing that the senior group and the leadership group we've spoken about the last couple of weeks, just coming into a hard season, is to really, I think a lot of the onus has been on the core senior group for the last couple of years, and with Sammy there as a new coach, I think he wants to sort of take that onus off us and put it on the younger guys. And as a senior group, we're pretty much we're playing for these young kids at the moment. We really want to see them get better in their footy career and start at Taylors Lakes, and obviously when we go they're the next best thing. So we really want to see them grow.
Who are some of the younger players that we should be looking out for?
Zane, our new kid from he's been playing halfback flank. He's been I think he's been a standout. Anyone that's sort of come to the last 3 games will know that he's taken senior footy in his strides, and he's been really good. I think another kid, Muratore, he'll get a gig soon. He's I think it's his first year. He played under 18s. He was a really, really good player. He's had a bit of injuries, but he's definitely one to look out for. And all the young kids coming through. Another good thing about Sammy is he's really going to give these young kids an opportunity. So, anyone that deserves a spot will play this year.
What are your own personal expectations for this season?
Premiership.
Yeah.
Yeah. Full stop. We're here to win it. I think we can, and that's what we're playing. That's what we're playing footy for the major prize. So that's what we're here for.
How many years do you think you'll continue playing?
I'm not too sure. I honestly didn't think I was going to be playing this year. So I'm sort of just taking every year as it comes. I'm actually really enjoying my footy at the moment, but with Taylor's Lakes. And like I said, one of the major reasons I came back was to, help the transition with the younger side coming through. Mm-hmm. So yeah, every year is a new year. So I'll have to answer it maybe come January next year.
Well, I've got here with me the coach of Taylor's Lakes, Sam Tankard. Sam, 3 games in to your time here in Essendon Ford Division 1. How would you say you've matched up to the pre-season expectations that you had internally within the group?
Yeah, it's been good. I was pretty confident always against Hillside. We've got a pretty more senior group than them. They're very young, so I was always pretty confident there. The West Meadows game is always going to be a challenge, obviously playing them in the final, and they're on record as they're a 6 or 7 goal better side and can challenge for the flag. So I thought we were pretty brave. The game could have gone either way that day. We obviously finished with no bench, so that sort of hurt us a bit towards the end. And yeah, that game really could have gone either way. So and they're obviously going to be one of the top sides. And then Glenroy on the weekend was the same again. I think our turnovers kept them in the game a little bit. We had 63 turnovers, which I don't think you win too many games if you have that, and I wouldn't want to have that again. But yeah, we were pretty brave, kicked the goal obviously with 60 seconds to go to get in front. But no, I think it's that sort of year that Glenroy will be up there. I think if you're 5 or 10% off, you can get beat by anyone really.
How has senior coaching sat with you so far? Has it been an easy transition, or are you still finding a few things out that maybe were unexpected when you took on the job?
Oh, it certainly hasn't been easy. Just trying to convince all the players to stay on for sort of one more year, and that whether they wanted to go again, they were all at that age, that 30, 31, 32 age. So once I sort of convinced them, it's been good, and after Christmas it's been good. Pre-season training's been really good. I think we're certainly going to be better off in the second half of the year. Once they get to know a new game plan and the style that I want to play, and once we can get a few more of our key players back. We've got some key injuries at the moment for the first 5 or 6 weeks. We'll get them back in the next few weeks. Yeah, I think we'll slowly build through the year.
And tell me a bit about expectations. Top 4 in a division like this would probably be the benchmark, but how far do you think you can actually take this team now that you've got a bit of exposed form and you've got a bit of a read on how well you guys can play so far?
One of the good things I think with us is our depth. Obviously with the reserves winning grand final last year, they've had a good start. They're 3-0. So I think there's plenty of depth. We've got probably another 6 or 7 that could potentially play in the seniors already. We've got 5 or 6 key players that are out. So I think our depth might be the key come finals time. A few other sides are probably lacking that sort of depth, so can they cover the injuries sort of later on? But I think it's one of those seasons you just got to make the 4, and come finals, the team that's in the best form, got the best list on, can probably win it. Obviously Dudas are probably the ones at the moment, and Craigie Ben have got the 2 cloaks. Once they start to fire up a little bit, they're obviously going to be hard to match up. So.
And just lastly, Taylor's Lakes has a senior thirds this year. I understand that it's brought a lot of players who want to play for the club back. Tell us a bit about what effect that has on training, the numbers, and also game day, weekend functions, and just having that third team and an extra group of guys that are there, not just supporting the club, but actually contributing on the field as well.
Yeah, well, number one, it's fantastic to have a third side, to have that many numbers, and to fit us is really good. It means that guys don't miss out on a game. In the reserves, we would have had 16 or 17 missing out. We've got some older players that have retired in the last few years that are keen to come down and have a bit of a kick. It is an enjoyment thing for us. It's not really about winning, it's just about giving everyone a game. But yeah, it's certainly going to be a chance to grow the club. Obviously your membership, around the 70 mark is big for the club, keeping up to the functions, hopefully getting to the ball. Our round 5 game coincides with them playing, so all the senior group will be here to watch them, so we make them all sort of feel welcome too. Training is very difficult. I'd love to have another ground because it's hard to sort of incorporate drills with 60 guys, but we're managing at the moment. We'll just see how it goes through the year.
Well, Sam, it's only 3 weeks in, but very promising. Good to be ahead of the win-loss count, and well done so far. All the best for the rest of the season.
No worries, thanks there.
And now to the panel segment of this week's EDFL Web TV right here at Lionheart Reserve. Addam, Saricaoglu and Dave Kennedy joining me once again. Guys, we've been more or less on the money in our tipping through the first couple of weeks of the season, so stick around for the preview segment of round 3, but right now we need to look back at round 2, and we start with Strathmore Community Bank Premier Division. Nowhere better than the broadcast game, because I tell you what, Avondale Heights are zipping 2. Some stern words at three-quarter time from Avondale Heights coach Saade, Ghazi, and Dave, what did you make of the post-match interview that he did with him? Because we'll have a little highlight of it coming up on Web TV. And if you want to hear the full interview, the audio version, it is on the EDFL YouTube channel as well. But what did you make of Saade's post-match comments about the Heights going to zip in 2?
I think, Teo, one thing that was very interesting about Saade Ghazi's comments was how impressed he was with Greenvale, actually. I think he really noted the fact that they came up against a quality opposition. Obviously, they've been very disappointing this season. A lot of pundits before the match said that the game against Pascoe Vale was simply a bad day. Well, they've had another bad day as well. So I think that Saade, as you'd expect, was quite disappointed.
And Adam, we'll hear from Shannon Grant as well. And again, it's only a little excerpt that we'll see here on Web TV. The full audio of the interview is on the YouTube channel. We spoke to him for quite a while. He was very generous with his time. And we've got a great insight into a guy that has taken to the EDFL very quickly. And any of the concerns that this was Addam McPhee 2.0 have been dispelled after a couple of weeks. This guy absolutely knows the situation that he is in.
Yeah, well, it is always handy as media people, Teo, when coaches are so giving for us. And yeah, well, we were impressed by that. He's a well-spoken guy, and look, he seems to be doing all the right things down at Greenvale at the moment, Dave. I know you were impressed with how they were moving the ball and all of that. So it certainly looks like they're contenders again. I know there was talk about just how long it would take for I suppose, Shannon Grant and the new styles to settle in. But against quality opposition, we can talk about how bad Avondale Heights were, but we know that they're still, on paper, a very good team. For Greenvale to go and do that means that they're probably on the fast track to getting back up into the top 4.
And our Sportsmoves best on ground was Addam Maric, the former Greenvale junior who spent a number of years off in the AFL and VFL system. And again, a little chat with him coming up. But what did you make of his performance? 6 goals. His coach said he could have kicked 10. There were some impressive players from Greenvale. I really like the look of Tom Hill. You can see that he's got the skills and the qualities that got him onto an AFL list, even though he wasn't able to play an AFL game. And they really have integrated their new recruits into the team quite smartly. Fabian DeLuca had a sensational day in the ruck as well. So we can't get too hung up on sticking the boots into Avondale Heights. What did you like on the field with Greenvale?
Look, the fact that they've lost Curette, Jorgensen, Whites, there's a couple others as well that are no longer in this side. Potter is obviously now at Strathmore as well. You're inclined to be concerned about what they're bringing in. And again, I bring up the fact that how long it was going to take for Greenvale to gel. And the guys they've brought in have been class. Obviously, the Marics have been excellent in the first 2 weeks. I know Addam had a shortened the game against Aberfeldy, but to get full 4 quarters in and ended up kicking 6, should have been 7. There might have been a bit of lair rising with the running in. I think it was for the 7th goal actually. Then he ended up missing that one. His brother actually got to himself as well. So look, they've integrated well these new guys into the Greenvale system, and they're going very well at the moment. And
Dave, just briefly, how much of Avondale's woes are down to the cattle and the recruiting to replace a number of last year's players that left, and how much of it is down to attitude? Where do you think the balance is? Is this a team that only can go so far, or is this a team that's got the pieces but isn't applying itself correctly at the moment?
I think, Teo, when we talk about attitude and poor attitude at footy clubs, we talk, on-field indiscretions, 50-metre penalties, insignificant free kicks that they give away. This was not the way that Avondale played on the weekend. This wasn't a lack of application. This was a lack of depth in their side. So I think that to answer your question, I think that it comes down to their list. I think that I think that they've got. I think that from the latter part of last season, we saw that they were probably too reliant on the Galea-Rose forward combination, and they got carved up in the midfield. We saw that Tanner was forced to play in an offensive role as a forward in a defensive role on Matt Smith. I just thought that I don't think that their list is quite as good as we maybe made out to be in the pre-season.
Okay, I'm going to disagree just a little there, because I reckon, we saw signs of it from Reece Miles. He was a line-breaking, rebounding defender, but the problem is not enough of them were running in numbers. There wasn't enough structure built to move the ball in transition, and it seemed as though Avondale Heights had real issues moving the ball out of their defensive 50, and Greenvale kicked a lot of behinds and kicked inaccurately, but they often became 7 or 8 point plays because they were trapping the ball inside their attacking half. So, Adam, I'll ask the same question to you. Is it the list, or is it the attitude and the tactics which are letting Avondale Heights down?
It's the latter, and you say, Dave, you're not really questioning the application. I am. I don't think they turned up to play. I was questioning their attitude sort of going into the game. I was out on the ground pre-game and having been smashed the way they were by Pascoe, Vale, and we've heard about the response that did come from the coaching staff after that round 1 game. You would expect Avondale to be breathing fire, basically. I mentioned it on last week's TV, and I did not see that attitude at all. On paper, I do think they can go all the way and win the flag. They've still got time to get it right, and obviously start improving on their form. Depth is a massive issue. Obviously, they don't want to start getting too many injuries. There might have been a couple on the weekend, but I do think it was application, Dave, that cost them dearly on the weekend. We might have underestimated Greenvale, but right now, Avondale upstairs mentally aren't there.
Well, that's our take on the match of the round. Let's now hear from Shannon Grant, the Sportsmoves best on ground Addam Maric, and Avondale Heights coach Saade Ghazi. Shannon, one thing that really plagued Greenvale last year was Adam McPhee brought too much AFL jargon back to local footy, and local footy stopped being fun. And I'm wondering, have you made the adjustment here to know what's going to work in suburban footy and what to leave back in the AFL system and maybe save for another time in another place?
I have. It's a very good question. It was probably one of the first things that I sat down with the leaders and discussed. There's obviously quite a number of other things I'd like to implement, but you don't get the time during the week. But there's a couple of key indicators and key things that we focus on. But at the same time, you've got to realise that you don't get them, 5 days a week. You get them for 2 nights a week for an hour and a half at a time. So you've actually got to prioritise what you get through. I think we're starting to get a balance between what we do when we have the ball, and I think they're really starting to get what we do when we don't have it. And I think that really started to stand out today. So pretty simple. Ball's in dispute, work on that. They've got it. Make sure we're setting up the ground we want, and when we've got it, let's make sure that we're brave and playing an exciting brand of footy when we go forward.
I suppose I'm enjoying my footy a lot more playing down with the boys I grew up with, playing with Nick as well. It is fun. Look, it's fun when you win. I suppose in the last 10 minutes of last quarter, and you've got the game sort of won, you can, I suppose, sit back and enjoy it a little bit. But Shannon's into us about playing 4 quarters. So last week we played 3. So really sort of had a bit of a focus today to play out right till the end, and felt like we did that.
How tough is it to make that call and say, that's it on the VFL, I'm going to go back to my home club, and sort of, draw a line and say, that's it for the AFL dream?
Look, it was a little bit tough, but I suppose I'd done my time. I got drafted at 17, so I think if you're talking to AFL and VFL, it's probably 7 or 8 years there, so I felt like it was the right time to sort of just pull it back a bit, concentrate and stuff outside of footy. Come back and just really enjoy my footy, play with my brother, which is awesome, which mum and dad are rapt about because they get to go to 1 game a weekend, sort of up and down to different grounds. So, look, it was the right time. A lot of my good mates left Werribee as well, which made it probably a little bit easier. So, it was just the right time.
Look, I said to the guys, one thing I learnt from one of my first coaches, which was Barry Round, he really backed these players, and I thought, look, I will keep the same 22 for this week. We lost Andrew Grosso in the warm-up today, so I don't know if you guys noticed that, but so we were 1 short before we started, and then we lost Tommy Mendeco, 10-man marker the first quarter. So we were down to 2. That had no bearing on the result. If you noticed the result in the reserves, that was quite disappointing as well. So there's probably one of the boys that was looking at maybe selection got injured. So to be honest, we're probably not going to have a lot of changes. I'd say there'll be a couple forced with injuries, but there won't be a lot, I wouldn't think. Look, I think you get tested, but when you've been around a long time, you also know that, you're only, a game away from being at your best. So, yes, it does test you and you sort of worry, but at the same time, there's no hiding away from it. You get back on the horse, you train hard, and we have another crack, and it doesn't get any easier. We've got Abbas away next week.
All right, guys, so the thoughts there of our 3 guests on EDFL Radio Review. And the other guest we had on was Robbie Costello from Maribyrnong Park. If you want to hear the audio of that, just click through to the EDFL YouTube channel and you'll be able to hear that interview. But I want to ask you about Maribyrnong Park's top 4 ambitions. They lost narrowly to Strathmore, having more scoring shots. Now, after a goalless first half, they still come back and beat Keilor very impressively in the end. How far can Marby go this year, Adam? I know that we disagreed to an extent last week on the preview show, but hey, I still tipped Keilor in the record. I didn't stick my neck all the way out to tip Marby. Is this a turning point, or do you put this one on Keilor as a bad defeat?
Yeah, the fact that Mick McGuan only named the 4 in his bests probably suggests that there weren't many contributors for Keilor on the day, and to fall away like that, you can probably understand why. They've got some good quality at the top, Maribyrnong Park. It's been like that for a couple of years now. Their top-end talent is very good, and I understand that the Lee brothers had a very good day on Saturday, but it's that depth throughout the entire 22 that I'm still going to question. I noticed some people down at Marby that might not be happy with that assessment at the moment, but we probably need to see a bit more proof soon. They'll get the win over the Northern Saints this weekend, but coming up after that is a home game against Greenvale. That's going to be the litmus test for Maribyrnong Park.
And also in Premier Division at the weekend, Pascoe Vale kicking 205 points against Airport West. Another dominant display from Paco. It's only 2 weeks in though, and they're yet to play some of the other big animals in the jungle like Strathmore, Greenvale, or of course Aberfeldy. So Dave, do we say they're the real deal just yet, or do we have to pump the brakes a bit with Pascoe Vale?
Well, what we can say, Teo, is that they know how to kick a pretty serious score, and Ben Warren is really the focal point of that, and he's done superbly. I guess the form of Avondale Heights and Airport West is maybe slightly questionable at this stage, so maybe it's a case of watch this space, but any side that can kick such massive scores that Pascoe Vale have managed over the first 2 weeks, you've definitely got to keep an eye on them and I guess keep them as a safe bet.
Well, we'll look ahead to the round in our preview video in Strathmore Community Bank Premier Division, but let's move on now to round 2 results in Essendon Ford Division 1, and this is the division that delivers. There's a reason we're out here at Taylor's Lakes tonight. They had a thrilling win against Glen Roy, a late goal getting them over the line at Sewell Reserve, a very good win. Adam, you suggested in the preview video last week that it could be a draw, and you weren't too far off here. A one-kick game. What do you make of Taylor's Lakes' impressive start to the season?
Yeah, look, I think some people have underestimated Taylor's Lakes, and again, it does speak to how good this division is at the moment. We're only, I think, 9 games into the season now, and only 2 teams are still waiting for a win, so that already suggests just how open this game is. And look, I know they're very confident down here at the moment, Taylor's Lakes. It's going to be a long season, but I might still just have a question mark on the fact that we're still seeing the likes of the D'Souza's and the Longos and the Morellis and the Raguzas in the bests. I want to see who's coming next. I want to see that next level of talent coming through before I'm probably going to be convinced, because Taylor's Lakes, they've had a very good start. Obviously, West Meadows is a good team, and that's the only team they've gone down to so far. But Tulla, Essendon, Duda Stars, Oak Park, and East Keilor coming up next. They probably want to get at least 3 wins out of that next 4.
Looking through the rest of Essendon Ford Division 1, Dave, I'll ask you about Hillside. Winless through 3 games to start the season. I was out at Shark Park to watch the final quarter of this. East Keilor only kicked 1 behind in the last quarter, but were still able to hold out, really, going against the scoring end in sideways rain and crazy weather. So do we have a new relegation favourite, or just another team that's been sucked into the mix here in Hillside?
Yeah, as you said, Teo, a great win for East Keilor, but unfortunately the story that comes out of it is Hillside. They're certainly in the relegation mix at the moment, and that's something that they'd be very disappointed about, and as are we. I know that some of us on the panel even thought that they may have been a chance for finals. Well, last year you needed 9 wins to make the finals in West Meadows' case. They're going to be struggling to get up around that mark with the bye in Division 1 and only a possible 16 games.
Now, Adam, I heard Dave Battistella's after-match speech. It more or less said everyone's written us off. Everyone thought we would go back down. Well, here we are. We're 1-1. And after losing to Essendon Duda Stars by 21 goals in the first round of the season, we were a little bit worried about East Keilor, but where does this put them? And again, I'll ask you what I asked Dave. Hillside, new relegation favourite, or just a team that's been sucked back into the mix?
Look, it does have to be said about Hillside. Some notables missing from the side: Stone, Charters, Catania, Rocky Ferraro, Jackson Volpato. Just 5 of the names that probably easily in their best 22 that weren't there on Saturday evening. So that does need to be mentioned. But as far as East Keilor is concerned, look, Dave, if you're watching, I wasn't one that wrote you guys off. I think you'll stay up despite that disappointing result against Dudas. And congratulations for the win. But look, going through the names that were on the field for East Keilor, it's it is going to be a tough year, and against an undermanned Hillside, it's a very good win. But against Hillside's best, I'm still not sure. just exactly where East Keilor is going to sit, because Hillside, when they do get their best 22 back out on the park, they are going to be very good. And from what I'm hearing, there are maybe a few question marks about Hillside's midfield at the moment. So a good win for East Keilor. They really need it in terms of the outside noise suggesting that they aren't going to be any good this year. This is going to be a huge confidence booster, and the perfect result for East Keilor, who are in command for a lot of the game.
Well, I'm going to stay and say that even though Hillside's chances of making the 4 are severely diminished, I don't think they're actually in danger of relegation yet. This form has to sustain right through the first half of the season. I think they will find their way out of it, but gee, they've made it tough for themselves starting zip in 3, and fair enough that they're now being talked about in those terms rather than in terms of making the top 4. Speaking of the top 4, Oak Park 2-0. They're the real deal, it seems. After a seesaw game against West Meadows, I think both teams would have come away disappointed if they lost. We had Addam Russell from EDFL Radio as our correspondent at the ground, and as we understand it, West Meadows were lining up for a goal in the last quarter. A brawl breaks out, they give away the shot for goal, they get a man sent off, and Oak Park are able to come away with the win. But that's the sort of balance that goes on in Essendon Ford Division 1, and games can turn in a moment's notice, and poor discipline can be a huge factor in that. Adam, Dave, what do you think of this result here for Oak Park improving to 2-0?
We were actually at West Meadows last year for the corresponding game, which I think that they did lose, and I think that's the difference for me this season with Oak Park, and I know it's early, is that it seems as if they've picked up the confidence they need to win games, and these close games as well. We saw them lose a number of close games last year, and it wasn't an ability thing. That I guess I'm sure we can both agree on this, Chief, was a mental thing, unlike Avondale Heights, but I think that it was all upstairs, and if they can start to win these close games, they start to gain momentum and confidence, and then wins, or the losses that they had last year become wins, and they make the finals comfortably.
I think they learned a lot of lessons from last year. I think they were probably expecting to go slightly better than what they did, and I know they're really, really keen this year to actually start building a reputation as being a force again, but they know it's going to take a little bit of time. Bloomfield 4 goals, Biggs 3, and obviously a big last quarter. And just on Westie as well, and in terms of that free kick reversal, whatever happened in that situation, look, discipline. It is so important these days, and there's a lot of professional teams that go about things in a very professional manner these days, both on the field and what they do during the week. And little acts like that, it is a fading thing in local footy. So perhaps that lesson will be learned the hard way down at West Meadows. You've got to actually conduct yourself a lot better out on the field these days, and it can cost you games like perhaps it may have for West Meadows here.
And just lastly on Essendon Ford Division 1, Tullamarine leading at half-time against Craigieburn, and then Craigieburn winning in the end. We'll get to Craigieburn versus Dooders as part of the preview video, but looking back at Tullamarine's first-round performance, even though they didn't win, I think this is the good news story of the week, because we didn't know what to expect. We were worried that they'd lost so many players and had such upheaval that anything was possible. Well, they've put down a pretty good first marker, and yeah, they'll be disappointed that they didn't win, but I think it's a good sign that they are up to the competitive level of Essendon Ford Division 1, and that really means that who knows which way this division's going to go, because that battle against relegation could go anywhere now that we know that Tullamarine are established and can compete with a team that we think is going to make the top 4.
Yeah, I think I said last week on Web TV, Tao, that it was like tipping GWS in their first game. There was a lot of unknowns, and as we said, I think they answered a lot of questions this week. They're going to be competitive, which is the big story out of the week, definitely.
All right, Adam, final thoughts on Essendon Ford Division 1?
Yeah, look, like I mentioned, to have only 2 teams that are still searching for a win rally into round 3 now is massive, and just again, it speaks to just how good this division is.
All right, let's move on to Strathmore Community Bank Division 2. The one big talking point to come out of the weekend, Roxburgh Park. Dave, I'll give you the floor here, because they may well have come back better than last season to hold Coburg Districts to 2 goals and absolutely blow them away. That is a very ominous sign for the rest of the competition.
Oh, it's a superb effort, and I guess Roxburgh Park, as you mentioned, they're one of those sides that that could have gone either way. They played in the grand final last year. There's probably a few players that came in, a few players that went out, and it's difficult to come back the next season with the same sort of intensity and endeavour to want to win a flag. And they've obviously built on last season, and they look like they've improved. And who knows, they could be looking at another grand final performance if they continue this form.
I want to ask Adam you about the other contender, Hadfield, kicking away from Keilor Park after half-time. So putting a bit of a margin between them and the Devils in the end, but they get another tick in the win column and against a team that, you know, many think are going to be around that top 4 mark this season. So Hadfield are sailing pretty well at the moment.
Yeah, they certainly made a statement. McKercher and Nazra were good, but Matty Patain back in the lineup didn't play in round 1, and he's just gone bang and kicked a bag of 4. So that's, again, is a really good sign for Hadfield. We know depth was an issue last year. They seem to have improved that a little bit this time around. You know, I tipped Coburg Districts for the flag pre-season. I might have just changed my flag prediction right now. I think Hadfield right now, I know it's only mid-April, but right now Hadfield might just be the favourites in Div 2.
We'll leave discussion of Keilor Park and Coburg Districts for the weekend preview video because they're going head-to-head against each other. So make sure you click through to the EDFL YouTube channel and check it out. He's Addam, Saricaoglu and Dave Kennedy. I'm Teo Pellizzeri, and make sure you stay with us for the weekend preview.
That's the end of this edition of EDFL Web TV. Make sure to check out the EDFL YouTube channel for more videos. I'm Varley, and we'll see you back here at the Pascoe Vale Hotel soon.